This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast, presented by GoldBoys Network. Here's your host, Will Hill.
Welcome to the Shoulda Bet More podcast, presented by GoldBoys. Coming up on the show, NicLarson of GoldBoys will join us. We'll go over the Major League Baseball season as it starts, restarts, however you want to say it, on Thursday, which we can get to. It's just totally ridiculous to go head-to-head with the NCAA tournament in the Sweet 16. No idea why they do it. Could have started on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday. Used to be where they would pretty much everybody's opening day would coincide with the national championship game in college basketball. It was perfect. Most teams would play during the day, lead up into a college basketball title game at 9 o'clock Eastern or so, and it was a great day of sports, and baseball would have its moment and lead into the basketball. So why they go head-to-head with the Sweet 16 is beyond me, but we'll get to it. Happy it's here. Once you get here with the baseball, it is, man, it's every day, and there's so many games, so many teams. It's on all day, it's on all night, and there's so much to bet. Season-long stuff gives you action every day if you go that route. So I am excited, and I'll start with college hoops, and then before we get to Nick, I'll give you some stuff I've added, some stuff I've looked at just in terms of the baseball season-long stuff. But again, these markets don't go away. They update the stuff year-round, win totals, obviously awards and futures. So very excited for it to be back, for it to be here. Cannot wait for baseball, and excited to talk to Nick. I'll start here with my college basketball thoughts, though, in terms of the Sweet 16. Just give out my picks. A few games I don't have a feel on. Auburn, Michigan, I'm going to stay away from. And Duke, Arizona. I do feel like, just in general, some general thoughts here. They are shading the lines to the favorites because the favorites did so much winning. So these books have, I'm sure they, good amount of them got beat up with these money line parlays. So they're probably just going to shade these a little higher to make you think twice before throwing all these in your money line parlay. So Duke, Arizona feels a little high. Michigan, Auburn feels a little high. But those are ones that I am going to stay away from. The couple I do like, talked a little about this with JVT on Monday's show. BYU, Alabama at 175.5 is high. I don't think it's high enough. So I like the over. If you look at BYU and Bama, or if you look at Bama in the games where they've had a line that's in this range, in the 170 or higher, these are some of the scores. They played Florida 3 times this year. Total points scored 193, 202, and 186. Against Missouri, total of 208. Against Kentucky, 179. Against Auburn, 179 and 184. And against Texas, 183. So it's just, you can't make the totals high enough when they play these high total games for Bama. BYU is going to want to run and gun with them. BYU is going to shoot 1,000,000 threes. Both are just near the top of the country in terms of three-point attempts per game, right around 29. Bama's 8th, a little over 29. BYU's 18th, just a little under 29. So you're going to see 1,000,000 threes. You're going to see a ton of pace. And I do think the winner gets into the 90s here. I will go over BYU and Bama. This is one I don't have a feel for the side. I would lean towards just taking the points just because I think BYU has enough offense to keep this close. But at the end, you could see Bama pull away with free throws. I think this will come down right around the number. A game I will look to lay the points, even though it does feel like this is inflated a little bit. There's some 7, there's some 6.5, 6.5 at DraftKings minus 118. I like Florida here. I just think they have too much depth for Maryland. That's the one thing where Florida can really expose that because they've got a lot of bodies. They can play fast and sort of play these guys off the court, maybe get into some foul trouble and just wear Maryland down. If you do like Florida, or if you do like Bama, if you do like Maryland, maybe you play the first half because the depth could be an issue. And if that issue is going to present itself, it's going to be in the second half where they just maybe run out of steam. So maybe you wait and you take Florida at the second half line if that's your handicap, or you think they're just going to run out of steam, and you see what the first half score is, and you figure, all right, they're just going to not have enough bodies to hold up for 40 minutes. That could very well be the case. So I do like Florida here, and I wouldn't be opposed to saving some of your bet for Florida second half. So that would be another play. I do like Florida to advance in minus the 6.5 here. Texas Tech, Arkansas. I'm going to go with Arkansas. I understand. I like this Texas Tech team, but Thero is back for Arkansas. He's an NBA guy. Boogie Flan came back last weekend. He's an NBA guy. So you can kind of throw out that 10 seed, throw out what they did in the regular season. They were missing 2 NBA guys for a lot of their season. And wouldn't it be sort of ironic if Calipari, after all these years of underachieving with top teams with higher seeds, if he pulls off, an Elite Eight, a Final Four with this team that was counted out for a good reason in the middle of January, where they're 0-5 in SEC play and just Looked like they had no chance to make an NCAA tournament, maybe not even make an NIT. It looked like the season was just going off the rails. They get back on track. They get on the bubble, into the tournament, and here they are in the Sweet 16. So I think there's a little house money feel for Arkansas. And Arkansas just has NBA guys, NBA bodies. Toppin just destroyed Drake, the superstar for Texas Tech. They had no answer for them. It was men against boys. That's not going to be the case for Arkansas. Arkansas's got NBA athletes. They got size. They've got shot makers. So I will take Arkansas plus the 5.5. I will also take the plus 4.5. I talked about this Sunday. Anytime you can give me Rick Barnes on the other side and I get points in a big game, I will take Kentucky. I know that Kentucky shot the three really well in the two games, coincidentally 12 for 24 in both, and Tennessee shot miserably. But I think Kentucky, they know the game plan. Just pack the paint and dare Tennessee to shoot. And Tennessee is not a good shooting team. Kentucky just shoots it better. And I like the coaching angle in terms of fading Barnes, so I'll take the 4.5 with Kentucky. And I'll also take the 8.5 with Purdue against Houston. This is a home game for Purdue, which is not fair to Houston as the one seed. They're going to be in a situation where if Houston advances to the Elite Eight, they could have another possible road game here in the next round. I mean, it's not fair that they were given this scenario where they have to play in Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, 60 miles away from Purdue's campus. But Purdue, and JVT talked about this on Sunday. The one thing Purdue doesn't do well is defend, specifically the rim. Houston, that's not their kind of team anymore, where they don't really attack the rim. It's more of a jump shooting team. You're getting the 8.5. It's a home game. I've been anti Purdue for most part these last couple weeks and just in general. And it always concerns me. It's not a good way to handicap or approach these games. The old saying is, if you're not there for the wedding, don't be there for the funeral. So I am wary of that. I am nervous of that. But I will take Purdue plus the 8.5 because of the home court advantage, because of the matchup. I could see Houston winning the game by 5, 6, 7, something like that, where they win and they don't cover. So I'll take Purdue plus the points. Again, the other ones, Auburn, Michigan. Auburn, you figure, is going to have one of these games where they're dominant wire to wire. Even Creighton, they covered, but they were losing in the second half, which is a tough one if you had Creighton plus the points. Auburn has not looked like the dominant force that they were in the regular season in a long time now. Lost 3 out of 4 to end the regular season. Struggled against Alabama State. I mean, struggled relatively. They were only up 1 with a minute or so left in the first half against the 16 seed. And then they were losing the second half to Creighton. So maybe Auburn's due for one of these spots where they just win wire to wire and beat somebody by 15, 20 points. And maybe Michigan's that team. That line has creeped up to 9.5, so I don't think you're getting a great bargain there. And then Ole Miss, Michigan State. Michigan State now laying 3.5. Part of this is just so bitter with how the New Mexico game ended and what a rough whistle New Mexico got that I want to be anti-Michigan State. The key for me here is the 3-point battle because nobody can hit a 3 against Michigan State. Now, some of it is they're tough, they're physical, they wear you down, long perimeter athletes that defend the 3, but some of it I think is just luck. Now, Ole Miss has shot the 3 incredibly well, so something has to give here. But I didn't bet it. If I had to, I would take the Ole Miss plus the 3.5. I think Beard's a tremendous coach. I could see this being a down to the wire game, so I'll take Ole Miss plus 3.5. Duke, Florida, I have no feel. It does feel a little bit inflated, but do you really have an appetite to step in front of this Duke team? This Duke team is just such a machine right now. There is a little concern, at least big picture, that it's been so easy for them. If they get in a tight game, how's that going to look? The competition, the ACC wasn't great. They roll through the tournament even without Flag and even without the other starter. But Flag is as good as he is. Malawach is an underrated, but Malawach is just impossible. The big guy is impossible to score on inside. He's really good. So I have no appetite, no interest in stepping in front of this Duke freight train right now, and it is a freight train. So hopefully we'll get a little juice, a little drama. The first 4 days, as I mentioned the other day, has just been awful. No upsets, very little in terms of exciting games. Think about it. You had 48 games between the first 4 days, right? 16 in each of the first 2, and then 8 each Saturday and Sunday. What did you get? Three or 4 games? UConn, Florida was good. Maryland, Colorado State was good with the buzzer beater. Probably missing a game or 2. I mean, you could count it on one hand, though, easily. The number of really exciting, really memorable moments that there's been in this tournament. I said the other day to somebody, I think the star of one shining moment is going to be the monitor because we get more reviews than we do exciting basketball in these games. It's really, really been uninspiring. But the one positive is all the good teams pretty much are still intact. So maybe that sets up for a really, really good Sweet 16, a competitive Sweet 16. As baseball season and college basketball season merge on Thursday. It's a fun day. I wish baseball had it all to itself, but that is still a fun day when you get all the opening day action on Thursday. And we got a bunch of good games. School Bowl versus the Dodgers with Detroit and LA. Red Sox Rangers is a good one. We'll see the new luck Red Sox with Crochet on the mound. Yankees Brewers. It drives me nuts these interleague on opening day, but you get it year round now. Yankees Astros is a good one. Yankees Brewers is a good one. Mets Astros is a good one. So some good games, exciting games, and like I said, once you get baseball, once it's back, it's here. It's every day. It's not like football where you wait a week. It's not like NBA where you play every 2-3 days and there's not really a rhythm to it. No rhyme or reason to when these games take place. Baseball is pretty much every day. You can set your calendar and know. Even if it's just on in the background, you're gonna have a baseball game on pretty much every day you wake up, depending on the team you root for. And there's so much of it. There's so much inventory, so much product that it's really great. Before we get to Nick, the one team I've added, the one bet I've added, Texas 25-1 to win the World Series. I just think they won it 2 years ago without DeGrom, who gave them pretty much nothing. He got hurt in April. Wasn't involved in the postseason run. Texas, to me, is a team that could really, really, if they get a healthy, and I'm hoping for a healthy season out of DeGrom, Trout. These are guys I want to see play. That Hall of Famers that just got derailed by injuries in the middle of their career and haven't been healthy for a long time. It's been 3-4 years since we've seen DeGrom. Seager was beat up last year. Wyatt Langford is going to be a monster player. That's just a really good offense in a league, in a sport where it's hard to score runs. They have a bunch of guys that can mash. They have DeGrom. Eovaldi's a big game pitcher. Bochy's a big time manager. The AL sort of wide open. To me, Texas 25-1 to win the whole thing is a good bet. And who knows? You get in the World Series. Nobody can beat the Dodgers. Okay, well, you get the World Series. You got a 25-1 ticket. You're in good shape with that. And then, you kind of go from there. Who knows? Maybe it's not the Dodgers. Everyone acts like the Dodgers are inevitable, and I understand why. They're absolutely loaded. And who knows? Maybe they win 110 games this year. It's certainly possible. Remember, they were down 2-1 to the Padres in San Diego, throwing a bullpen game for them against Cease, and they were about to get eliminated. And Cease didn't have it. They were able to get off the mat. They won that game, got good innings from all the relievers, and then they won a game 5, and then they were on their way. But these best of 5 series are tricky. Short series, anything can happen. The NL's pretty good. They got a bunch of teams that could knock them off. Arizona's got good pitching. Philly still has good pitching. Atlanta's a loaded team. The Mets, obviously, were in the NLCS last year and had Soto, so it's no foregone conclusion that they win the whole thing or they're even in the World Series. As far as MVP, two ones that I've added in, I've noticed FanDuel has much better odds than DraftKings. So for the most part, always shop around, but for the most part, FanDuel is going to have better numbers on these awards. Brent Rooker's 80-1 to win MVP, and Cody Bellinger's 80-1 to MVP. Bellinger in that Yankee ballpark, the short porch, his ability to pull the ball, lift the ball. Could you see him hitting 45, 48 homers if everything broke right? It's unlikely. It's 80-1 for a reason, but it's not impossible, especially hitting behind Judge. And he's won it before. It's not like, he's no MVP capability. This is a guy who won an MVP. So we'll see. These guys the Yankees get have typically in the last 5-10 years had a habit of going backwards, not forwards. But I wouldn't expect, but I would say there's at least some upside with Bellinger where 80-1 is interesting. And Rooker, same sort of scenario where the upside is there. He's playing in a minor league stadium. Who knows how those dimensions are going to play? Very hitter friendly. Had monster numbers last year. I know he's not on a good team, but that's a sport where it's more about the individual numbers. It's not about as much team success. So even if they won 75 or a good year 80 games or something for Oakland, if he could hit 318 with 47 homers, maybe he's in a position where you either win the award or the bet offers you a cash out. You can hedge and find somebody else to bet. At 80-1, I thought that was at least an interesting number. So Texas at 25-1, and then Rooker and Bellinger MVPs at 80-1. Excited to get it going. On a good day Thursday with all the college hoops, all the baseball. We will discuss the baseball next with NicLarson, get his thoughts on the season, what he's betting. That is next. This is a Shoulda Bet More podcast. All right, we are back. You can catch him at GoldBoys Discord, where he does a great job covering a bunch of different sports, and he joins us now. It is NicLarson. Nick, what's up, man? It's baseball season. How's it going?
Good. I've been looking forward to this text message to jump on here. It feels like Christmas is right around the corner starting Thursday. I guess we had 2 official games, but not the official opening day, I guess, if you want to say it that way.
Absolutely. Does it drive you as crazy as it drives me that they go up against basketball in the Sweet 16? Like, we're recording this Tuesday. Why can't you just play on a Monday or a Tuesday and have the whole day to yourself? I mean, some of these things baseball does just drives you nuts.
Yeah, they worry about growing the game and stuff and the popularity. And then, it doesn't make any sense with the schedule at all.
Where do you start? What's your process like? Because there are so many markets in baseball now. Lead the league. I mean, you could think of it. You can bet it. Lead the league in this, that, team stuff. It's just so extensive. How do you sort of break it down? Do you just take a day to go through all the markets? Or what do you do in terms of getting ready for the season?
I try to bet the weirdest stuff possible. It's kind of, I mean, not conventional. I like to do a lot of the markets where I feel like the book doesn't have as good an edge and that I know very well. Like I don't bet the home runs or hits, very few money lines. I used to do a lot of strikeout ladders, but I feel like the books over the last few years have kind of lowered the odds on the high ends of the top strikeout ladders. So what I do now is, I mean, I try to work a day ahead each time. So while I'm watching Thursday's games, I'll be looking at Friday's starters, Friday's bullpen guys, and looking. I like to bet a lot of live strikeouts or first plate appearance strikeouts. So just looking at what relievers have been used, the starting pitchers for that next day, how they match up against the potential starting lineups, and there's a lot of value you can find in that. I mean, I did it during the two Japan games, just betting live strikeouts with the certain relievers that come in with certain matchups. Scott for the Dodgers, Trahan for the Dodgers, and you can get live strikeouts for some of these guys at like Dansby Swanson was one. He was plus 300. And if you're getting a reliever that has a 35 to 40% K rate when they come in, I mean, it's pretty good odds for that. So doing that, I do a lot of the first pitch stuff with Allen. We have a good system as far as first pitch at the top of the first pitch at the bottom of the first, just looking at guys that swing early and often and pitchers that are usually around the plate to start with. So just a lot of unconventional markets. Like you said, you can bet on anything. And I'll throw out some RBI plays here and there just for some bigger odds. But I like staying with the stuff I know, the pitching, the live plays, and just watching the game and kind of seeing how it develops.
Futures, awards. You mentioned you like some sort of niche stuff. I know you're looking at some stuff in the reliever of the year in both leagues. What do you have in that?
Yeah, well, it kills me that the Brewers traded Devin Williams. I know it didn't end how he wanted to in Milwaukee, but then it came out that he was potentially tipping pitches. And with that airbender changeup, I mean, even when guys do know it's coming, most of them still can't hit it. And with him being on the Yankees now, it was like this was just on FanDuel. I didn't shop around on all the books for this, but he was plus 500. I just like the spot he's in. I feel like he's that bullpen, the back end of that bullpen is pretty solid right now. So as long as they can get it to him with the lead, he's, I mean, arguably top or top three closer in the league. He's allowed to grow his beard back out, so he has his superpower back. I really like him in the AL, and then kind of a long shot, Felix Bautista back with the Orioles. Not sure how they're going to use him right out of the gate. I know he did throw the other day and looked pretty good. Baltimore should be a team that wins a lot of games. He was plus 1,600. And then moving to the NL, kind of chalk with the Dodgers, loaded team, loaded bullpen that only got better this year. This was probably one of the most slept on guys last year when he was with Miami, Tanner Scott. He is filthy out of the bullpen. He's a guy I would bet live strikeouts all the time with. Back end of that bullpen, he should rack up quite a few saves as well. And then a long shot for the NL. Diamondbacks, I know they just re-signed Martinez to a pretty big deal. He can be kind of wild, though. It'll be interesting how they use him and the guy like AJ Puck. He was lights out last year after he went there. A lot of strikeouts, big arm. If he can settle into the ninth there, depends what they do with Martinez. He's plus 2,500. So those are the two kind of chalk guys, and then two longer shots that I like.
How many wins for the Dodgers? If I asked you for an exact number, what are you thinking?
Holy cow! Do you know off the top of your head what their over under is?
Started at 104.5. Some of these books, since there was such a gap between those two games and the restart of the season, adjusted it a win. I know some of it adjusted 2 wins. Now remember, there's the whole story with Mookie Betts, who can't stop vomiting. He's lost 25 pounds. What a very strange, scary story.
I saw that interview, and he looked like sickly
He
skinny
did. He said
almost.
he's down to 150.
Jeez.
But they started 104.5, and it's crept up a win or so in most
I
places.
mean, it's so hard to win that many games when you always say like there's injuries to starting pitching, but they're literally like 10 guys deep with their rotation. And then their bullpen has like four different closers on it. I'll say 109.
Wow. Okay. I don't think it's crazy at all. How many losses for the White Sox?
Oh my goodness. I know this is going to kill Krusty K to say, but what did they have, like 44 wins last year? I believe it was 44, something like that.
I always look back. I forget. It was not good. I know that
No,
it
it
was
was
not
terrible.
good.
I know that it was always the stat where like if you bet them to lose and roll it over for X amount of days, you won this much money. So I know they were not very high. I saw something today where they've had like five guys that have had Tommy John too. Like I don't know what is going on with
41 wins last year.
41
41
wins
and
last year.
121.
I'll give them 43 wins this year.
Okay. Their win total has actually gotten bet up. Their over under for wins was 49 and a half when these numbers opened in a lot of places, and it's now up to 53 and a half, 54 and a
I
half. So it's
I just
actually
don't
taking
know
away
who's going
towards
to
the over.
start on that team. Like
Sean Burke, the opening day starter. That starting rotation, I don't care how big a baseball fan you are, that starting rotation is just a who's who of like who is that guy?
right.
I think of the line from Major League. Who are these fucking guys? Like that's
I don't.
it's so bad.
It's not like they're in an easy division now either. I mean, everyone in that division is pretty solid.
No,
Detroit's
absolutely.
gotten better. Cleveland's a powerhouse. It's not going to be easy.
Any teams that you have conviction on in terms of like placing a future on season win total? Any teams you want to discuss in terms of that?
Yeah. I mean, obviously everyone's on the Dodgers, but I'm not going to even waste time on that. But I do like the Diamondbacks, and that goes along with another bet I do like is Corbin Burns over strikeouts this year. I think just a new location for him. He's going to be pitching in better weather. I mean, it seemed like every time I turned on, I loved watching him with the Brewers. So I'd watch a lot of his starts with Baltimore. And every time you turn on the game, it's either like misting out, raining, windy. So pitching in Arizona, I think is going to help him out. His line was 170 and a half. You could also take 200 strikeouts at plus 330. I like the Diamondbacks as a team. The front end of their starters, and then I like the back end of the bullpen, and their lineup is no slouch either right now. So I do like the Diamondbacks. Cleveland, like I mentioned, I like Cleveland. And I think if Texas's lineup can stay healthy, they've been battling injuries, it seems like every single year. I like the Rangers as well.
I totally agree about Texas. I think that's the one of all these numbers in terms of winning the whole thing. That is really interesting because I don't buy that. Like, I think the Yankees could be in a situation where people are kicking dirt on them too quickly. If Judge stays healthy with their bullpen, they've got a pretty deep lineup. They get something out of Schmidt, out of Goldschmidt, and out of Bellinger. And if
Yep,
Dominguez, I know it's a lot of ifs, but that's not like in past years where it's Judge and then it falls off a cliff. Last year's Judge Soto, and then it fell off a cliff, even though Stanton was incredible in the postseason. That's maybe a deeper lineup. Pitch starting rotation's okay. Rotations don't matter as much as they used to because it's such a bullpen
they really
heavy
don't.
game. But 25-1 for Texas, a team that won the World Series 2 years ago without DeGrom. And I'm hoping for a healthy DeGrom season just as a fan of the game. He was so unbelievably unhittable for so long. The fact that he hasn't pitched really, I mean, it feels like 4 years since he's been healthy. I mean, even that last Mets year was 2022. He was only there for the end of the season. He's just been on and off for basically 3, 4 years now. If you can add a healthy DeGrom to that lineup, I think them at 25-1. Plus, you're in the American League where you don't have the Dodgers roadblock, you don't have the three monster teams in the AL East. The Diamondbacks are good. I just think the AL is a team where you could have a sleeper.
For sure. And I mean, you get healthy DeGrom and healthy Eovaldi. You throw in, I think Lighters takes a big step up this year. Whatever you get out of Kumar Rocker, and then yeah, that lineup. If they can stay healthy, I think they definitely have the pieces to do it.
Would the Dodgers at plus 300, is that one where you just bet it, you stash it in your account and you kind of forget about it and wait for October and you're happy you have it? Or is it just not worth it, bang for the buck, to lock up the money for that long?
It's just hard for me at plus 300 to lock up a World Series bet. I mean, I feel like you'd be better off just betting game to game when you get to the when you get there at that point.
Yeah, And what concerns you too is the best of five. That best of five is so tricky, especially if you're playing, in Arizona, a Philly, Mets, Braves. That's not an easy series. And remember last year, it just seems kind of inevitable that they're going to win the whole thing. Remember they were down 2-1 to the Padres
Right.
in San Diego. Cease was pitching against a bullpen game. It felt like they were going home again in the first
Yep.
round, and they got off the mat and they won. They won a game five, and then they kind of never looked back.
Yeah, Padres are another team that kind of intrigues me. Really like their lineup. It's just going to come down, I guess, to pitching and bullpen for them. If King can be the same as he was, they have the lineup to do it for sure. Lost Tanner Scott to the Dodgers, so that kind of hurts as far as closer wise. But see if Estrada in the back end of the bullpen can step up this year. But they're just in such a tough division, so it's tough.
Any of these other futures excite you? I mentioned Dodgers are on 3-1. Braves are plus 750. Yankees are plus 850. Phillies and Mets both 12-1. Astros and Orioles both 16-1. Red Sox 20-1. Then Arizona, Texas, Minnesota all 25-1. Mariners and Padres 28-1.
I guess out of
Royals,
that group,
go
maybe
ahead.
Arizona, maybe Arizona.
Yeah. The problem
Like
is
it,
they're probably not going to win the division, so you got to get
right,
it's really a four-team parlay in terms of the playoffs. Like, got to win the best two out of three, then the best three out of five,
right.
and
I
then
mean,
the
as
two
long as they
semis.
play the Brewers like they always do in the
Yeah,
first round and knock and sweep them in the first round, it doesn't seem to matter for them. So,
it's a good point.
um,
Good point.
yeah, I guess for Arizona, I mean, if you've got Burns and Gallen at the top of the rotation, I guess you always have a shot.
I know you haven't bet anything in Cy Young, but this is a market you've done well in. I think we were on Snell together 2 years ago,
Yep,
and I think last year you had Sale. Anyone
yep.
jump out to you in Cy Young? Either
I
league?
mean, the guy I like in the AL odds are terrible, but Crochet for Boston. Um, if they let him loose, I know the White Sox limited him a lot. His strikeout numbers could be wild. I heard people saying they're expecting around a 40% K rate for him this year. So if that happens and Boston is somewhat competitive, I really like that. But I think his odds are so low right now that that's one I would wait on. But yeah, he definitely intrigues me in the AL. NL's tough. I don't know. I mean, everyone's on Skeens in the NL, and I don't see that happening honestly. But NL, I think I'm just gonna wait out the first few weeks and kind of see how guys look, and then I'll see if I can find someone in that plus 2,000 to plus 4,000 range.
How about MVP for either league? I mean, American League, National League, it's just so hard to look past Otani because if he gives you anything pitching wise,
Yeah, it's unfair.
unless he gets hurt, or unless the voters just get bored of him, you feel like you're just kind of donating your money. I mean, last year Lindor was the guy who took a shot at late. It's so hard to get past Otani with everything he does. Especially you're going to add him to the mix now on the mound. Um, American League, it's look, Rooker 80-1 is a guy who's just a monster hitter, and he's gonna be playing in a minor league stadium. I know the team stinks, but in baseball, I feel like it's not as tied to your team. So even if, all right, they win 75 games or whatever, if he could put up, I don't know, 45, 48 homers, hit 315, 320, just put up video game numbers because he's in a minor league stadium, that interests me. Also, I could see this going poorly, but Cody Bellinger 80-1 with his ability to lift the ball and pull the ball in Yankee Stadium in those dimensions. He's got Judge in front of him, so people maybe pitch around Judge. Those are at least two that I found interesting. Um, do you have anything in that market? I could pull it up. By the way, if anyone betting this, FanDuel has much better numbers than DraftKings, but Judge is the short shot at 3-1. To me, there's no value there. Witt plus 450. Then you have Alvarez, Henderson around 7-1, Ramirez and Seager 16-1, as well as Trout, Guerrero, both in that 16-1 range. Then you have Rodriguez 20-1, Devers 25-1. Anyone interest you in terms of that?
Um, I would lean Seager since I like Texas, and I really like Jose Ramirez, but I just feel like he's one of those guys that just never gets the credit for some reason. I don't know if it's playing in Cleveland or whatever, but I just feel like as good as he is, he's still underrated. So if he can put together a monster year with maybe some additional steals or something like that, um, I like him too. But like you said, I kind of like that Rooker look too. Rooker's my guy. He's a super good dude. I like him.
Yeah, I think 35-1 to lead the league in homers too, which who knows how that dimensions are going to play out. And I feel like it's being overlooked a little bit. We got two teams, right, playing in minor league stadiums with where the Rays are
Yep.
playing and where the A's are playing, which is just such a strange thing.
Rooker's a great guy to bet home runs and a great guy to bet strikeouts on. So he's
Monster hitter too. He is a
he's yeah,
monster
crazy
hitter.
power.
Yeah, you wonder how long they keep him though. If they're bad, are they going to try to rebuild with him as a core piece, or you can get a lot for him?
Him and Mason Miller will be interesting to
Yeah.
see because people give up a lot for that. I mean, I think the A's could be actually decent this year, better than people think.
I do too. I do too. There was a lot of improvement last year. They add, you get what Springs there now, Severino now,
Yep.
which was a strange, very surprising signing for Severino to go there. So I agree. It's
I think they added Leclerc from Texas bullpen, and then they got Otanez and Mason Miller. So yeah,
I saw something about Miller. He thinks he could be the first guy to throw a 107-mile-an-hour pitch. It's like, man,
my
if
goodness.
these guys are going to start to hit 107, I don't know what you do. I don't know how people hit it. At some point, I wonder if they think about moving the mound back or just incrementally because it's just, man, these hitters
I
just
mean, or lowering it maybe or something. I don't
right.
know. He's the guy though that you want to bet live strikeouts. You see him warming up, and you can get anything plus 200 or higher. Fire away.
Good one. Good one. Anything opening day? I'll just go through some of the marquee games. Your Brewers against the Yankees.
Yep.
Rodon and Peralta. Boy, it's strange to see Rodon as an opening day starter for the Yanks. Yanks lane -1. Yanks lane 155. You get Orioles, Jays. Wheeler versus Gore, Phillies, Nationals. It's weird to see no Corbin for the Nationals. That contract finally ran out. Red Sox, Rangers is a good one. Mets, Astros is a fun one. You got Skeens versus Alcantara with a total of 6.5. I like opening day because you get, first of all, baseball's back and it's great, but you get all these great pitching matchups. Bybee versus Reagans is good. Sale versus King, Braves, Padres in a playoff rematch. Uh, Dodgers against Scooble. So Snail against Scooble's a good one. A couple Cy Young winners there. Have you looked at anything opening day wise?
I have one bet that I'm looking at right now that I'm about to place, and it's Freddie Peralta 2 walks and Mackenzie Gore 2 walks is around even money on DraftKings. Peralta can't throw a strike to save his life at last year or spring training, it looks like. And then Gore is sometimes effectively wild, but he usually gives you 2 to 4 walks a game too. So I'm probably going to play that. I'm definitely going to be watching that Red Sox Rangers game. I really like that matchup, Crochet and Eovaldi. It's so tough though and dangerous to bet strikeouts and stuff like that first start because you don't really know what the limit is going to be. Could be weather dependent. It could be pitches per inning dependent, how many times they go up and down. So just be careful if you are doing a bunch of strikeout ladders or PPD stuff opening day. But yeah, you can't complain with any of these matchups. Like you said, Pittsburgh and Miami will be a good one, and then that Cleveland Kansas City game. A lot of good pitchers going.
Yeah, and it is very dangerous to bet anything over in terms of the strikeouts because you just don't know what the usage. Look at the Japan series where these guys were going like 3-4 innings, the starters. So
Yeah, everyone was on Sasaki like 6, 7, 8 strikeouts,
yeah,
and
it's
will
just
he
not
end
going to
up with like
happen.
6 walks or something like
He
that?
did. Yeah, I think 5 walks. It's just not
Five
going to.
walks,
These guys are just not going to throw more than 70, 80 pitches. They're going to. It's
right?
cold weather. They don't want them exposed to that. Or it's cold weather, at least in some of these spots. It's going to be 4 or 5 innings at most. You're just not going to see 6, 7 inning starts. I remember last year people complaining like Strider, his strikeout number was like 9.5 his first start or something, and they took him out after 9 Ks and after 95 pitches. People are like, oh man, this is it's rigged or whatever. It's like if you watch baseball, you realize like what. Just be careful if you're betting overs. That's all I'll say. How
And
do you handicap it early? Is there somewhere you can go where you can find reliable info in terms of like the pitch count expected?
it's tough. I mean, I usually just do like some searches on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and just see if you can find any beat report stuff or kind of look at their game log from spring training, see how many pitches they've worked up to. I mean, they're not going to go if they maxed out at 60 in spring training, they're not going to throw them out there for 95 opening day. So it's kind of tough. I don't think they publicize all of it for reasons, but you can kind of get a gauge off their last spring training start, what they've worked up to.
Is it hard for you to bet these opening games too, just because? You never know which pitcher's sharp. The cold weather can affect the pitchers negatively. It can be hard to hit in this weather. There's just a lot of variables, especially when you're going from Arizona and Florida when it's warm. And I think opening day is going to be reasonable here on the East Coast. So 50, so it's not as bad. But in years past, it's 30, 40 degrees. When you go from, playing in the 70s and 80s every day, it can sometimes throw a monkey wrench in your handicapping.
Yeah, for sure. And usually the pitchers seem to be ahead at the beginning coming out of spring training. But I try to stay away from some of the cold weather stuff. And this is kind of where I go into like the live strikeout stuff. You can kind of get a glimpse of how things are going that first or second inning. Like, are the hitters on stuff? Are they not? Is the weather, and kind of go from there. And like even betting offensive stuff, like it was as much as people hate it, probably the number one hated bet out there. But if you bet no home runs in some games, you can get some very good odds early. And statistically, there are less home runs at the beginning of the year when it's cold. So some games you could get 1,200 plus 1,200 for no home runs. So keep an eye on that market as well.
That's a good one. Who offers that? I haven't seen that. I know some of the books you have to actually
It is
parlay the
on
individual hitters.
FanDuel for sure. There's one more, but I cannot remember what it was. I know FanDuel for sure.
All right.
I think it's under like where you can bet like the player to hit the first home run. They have like at the bottom, like no home run, I believe it is.
All right. Anything else? Any teams, players we can discuss you want to talk about?
I want to hear what you think about your Yankees.
I think they'll be okay. It's all dependent on how long does Judge play. If Judge has one of these years where he's going to miss, 20, 30 plus games, they're going to be like a 500 team because they just can't afford his absence. If he plays, like I said, I think they'll get something out of the Goldschmidt-Bellinger duo. Dominguez, we've heard about forever as being a monster prospect. Wells will give you something. Chisholm. It's not a terrible offense, and the bullpen's really good, and the starting pitching's okay. We'll see if they fill in the gaps in the rotation, but I don't know. I think the win total is about right, 90 wins. I think if Judge is healthy, they might go slightly over. If Judge is not healthy, they're slightly 500 team, maybe a little bit better.
So as a Brewers fan, we got our teams playing the first series here. What am I getting with Nestor Cortez here? Because we had to give up Devin Williams to get him.
Ooh, very up and down. He's not my favorite pitcher. A little
I
overrated.
was not happy when I saw that.
He thinks he's better than he is. He talks a lot. He gave that game-winning grand slam to Freeman in the World Series. Then he came back into pitch Game 3, and it was garbage time. They were down like 5-0. He pitched a scoreless inning, and then he was interviewed after the game. He said, "Well, it felt really good to go out there and redeem myself." He's got a lot of weird quotes that just annoy you as a fan. So beware.
Well, he'll be good in Milwaukee because no one will care there.
Yes,
so
you might be right. He's not bad. He's okay. He's a serviceable starter. I was surprised. Was that all that was in the trade? I don't remember.
They got that second baseman prospect.
Okay.
I can't remember his name though.
I think it was more they just didn't want to pay Devin Williams. Is Devin Williams coming into a contract here? Is that
I believe so.
Yeah, I think that's more what it was.
That's what they do. I mean, they did it with Hader, and then they groom the next guy up and try to get something out of him.
They're a good organization though. They a little like Tampa. They just always do more with less. They're always competitive. Now they can never punch through. It's a little like Oakland used to be in the 2000s, where they just always fall short in the playoffs. There's just not enough punch.
They can be pesky in the Central again. I mean, if Churio plays how he did in spring training, if Yelich is actually healthy for 3/4 of the season, Bryce Terang had a decent year. If you have Frelick, Contreras, very good offensive catcher, so. They just need the pitching. Their starting pitching is going to be suspect to say the least. I know Myers just got hurt and he's out for a month, and they were looking at him as probably their number 2 pitcher. So we'll see if Peralta can actually pitch like an ace this year.
Should be a lot of fun. The thing about baseball, once it gets here, it's every day. It's not like football where you have to wait a week. There's so many games. They're every day. It's just there's so much to bet.
That's why it's the best, and it's the best to bet because there's so much data out there, and it's every day that you can always find angles and edges, and it's the best.
And there's games on early, there's games on late. It's just wall-to-wall baseball once it starts. The best. Nick, you're the best. Oh, you mentioned you had a giveaway, right? You want to discuss?
Yeah, I've got a Aaron Judge Nike on-field jersey. We'll give that away once we get this episode posted.
Okay. What are the terms of the giveaway?
We can talk about it once we get it posted. We'll see. What we want people to comment. Maybe how many home runs he's going to hit this year or something like that. We'll figure it out.
All right, Nick, you're the best man. Appreciate it. Gold Boys, where else can we find you?
GoldBoys and NicLarson, NicLarsongB on X.
All right, man. We'll do it again as baseball season proceeds. Appreciate the time, man. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Will.
All right. Thanks to Nick Larson. Appreciate you guys listening. Rate, review, subscribe, Apple reviews, Spotify reviews, anything you do there would help us out. Gold Boys Discord, go there, sign up, goldboys.com. Appreciate it. See you Friday. Everybody in baseball will have a record by the time we talk next. We will be down to 12 teams in college basketball. See you then.